Hi, and welcome back to Weekly Dev Tips. This is episode 68. I'm recording at NDC London, January of 2020. And this week we have Jimmy Bogard as our guest. Jimmy works for Headspring as an architect, lead architect? Chief architect. And he's got a tip about one of his open source projects, of which he has a few. So Go ahead, Jimmy. What are some of your open source projects people might know?
The big ones are going to be AutoMapper and Mediator. But I've got quite a few others that don't get quite as much attention, but have equal love from me and our teams. So
Cool. So what's another one that people may not know as well that you want to talk about today?
Sure. The one I want to talk about is a tool called Respawn. Respawn is a tool for integration tests when you have an integration test that talks to a database.
All right.
And one of the big challenges of those kinds of tests is getting your database to a known starting point so that when you make your assertions, you know exactly what you started with.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of different ways you can approach that kind of problem. The typical solutions are things like wrap every single test in a transaction,
right.
So you roll back the transaction. But debugging those kinds of tests is pretty painful. And our integration tests, we try as much as possible to match what production looks like. And production doesn't roll back transactions, it commits transactions.
Right.
Often we have to do many steps to be able to commit multiple transactions and then make some sort of assertion. So we're having this problem where the test databases we were running locally, we could fill it with all kind of junk data as we had multiple test runs, and we would have a hard time figuring out what we were asserting against.
Sure.
And so we were trying to think, well, what's a good way for us to clear it out before each test run? And some of the solutions like rolling back transactions just wasn't a very good experience. So we said, what we'd really like to do is just clear it out. Before each test run, clear out the database. But that's not so easy because you have things like foreign key constraints. So now you have to delete things in the correct order.
And identity columns can also be painful.
Exactly. So what we wound up doing was trying to have a much more intelligent database deleter and cleaner so that it would examine your schema of the database, figure out the right order in which to delete things out of your tables, and then remember that for the entire test run. So that as you wanted to
do it once.
You only do it once, and then it'll reset it again and again, however you want to be able to run those. And so what we found is that for us, that was the quickest way to be able to do that. Every other way we saw things like recreating the schema, like just dropping the database, adding it over again, or reattaching databases, they're all orders of magnitude slower.
Right.
We have projects with hundreds or even thousands of integration tests. It was critical for us to find something that was super fast to be able to just wipe the slate clean every single time.
So when you say wipe the slate clean, you don't mean go back to empty tables. You mean just get rid of the things you changed, right? Or am I not correct on that?
No, it depends. So some of our tables are more transactional tables, and so those we will actually clean out. But sometimes we do have lookup data.
Right.
It doesn't change. So we have, over the years, I've had to add configurability to say, keep these things, ignore those things. So it doesn't keep track of what you've done and get back to it. Just it will tell you wipe back
configure it to
wipe back
ignore
to
some
some
parts.
specific known state.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, it allows us to still write those integration tests to give us a lot of confidence that our app will run, but not have these wonky test failures of expected 3 results but found 4 results and things like that.
And I'm assuming this is a .NET package that's
it's
C#
just it's a library. It targets NET Standard 2, so it can run supports a variety of databases, SQL of course, but all the major ones out there it'll support out of the box as well.
All right. And so if you're on .NET Core, it'll work. If you're on using .NET full framework, it should work because it's net standard, right?
Yep. All you do is point it, give it a connection string, and tell it to reset, and it'll do the thing. So, don't point it to production, probably.
Right.
But your local test databases, it's great for.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's it.
All right. You got any interesting things you're doing these days you want to promote or tell people about?
I probably can't promote the talk I'm giving in 3 hours, but
well, they can watch the video probably.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't actually think I have anything coming up.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you later, another episode, hopefully.
Yep.
This has been another episode of Weekly Dev Tips. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you next week with another great developer tip.